So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me here and coming to listen to my talk today. So I will tell you more in a few minutes about indeed unlocking enterprise potential and how to interact with a decentralized autonomous organization. But first, let me introduce myself. So my name is Kim Schneider, working for 7 years now in blockchain and crypto. Started my blockchain journey during my master's, which I did in Amsterdam during a digital business master. I have one lecture of 45 minutes on blockchain and crypto, and I was really sold and in love. I worked at a startup first as a blockchain consultant, moved to Rabobank, and now working for 2.5 years at Deloitte as a senior manager in our Web3 team in the Netherlands, based in Amsterdam. And I'm really focused on enterprise adoption, so how, I would say, connect the Web 2 and the Web 3 world together. Next to that, our team is also working on helping crypto-native companies, and we're also building our own environmental and social impact platform. So why is it important, do we think, at least at Deloitte and also from my own perspective, that we can interact as a corporate with a DAO? We really see a shift in the landscape for businesses because of the upcoming technologies like Web3. I think in the nearby future, the way we envision different corporate structures and governance is really shifting. And we at Deloitte really believe in this technology and also in decentralized ecosystems. So that's why we also collaborate, for example, and partner with the Energy Web Foundation. And we're also working closely together with Hedera to build this sustainability impact claim platform. So I think it's really important to collaborate also with the Web 2 and Web 3 world together. And so how did we come up with the idea of bringing those two worlds together? In 2022, we worked together with Stichting Polkascan, so Polkascan Foundation in English. And that used to be a block explorer of Polkadot, so maybe you're aware of it. And we did an engagement together with them, so Deloitte together with Polkascan. And we learned more about the Polkadot ecosystem, and we were really impressed by that and wanted to learn more. But we also saw this gap, because we are talking, of course, a lot to different clients in different sectors on how to interact with such an ecosystem that is different from a normal corporate structure. So there the idea was born to start thinking about how can we create maybe a blueprint for other organizations to help them in this interaction. So we as Deloitte see on the one side the eagerness of our clients. So we work together with big corporates. We also work together with smaller companies and a lot of crypto-native companies. And they really, really want to engage with DAOs, but sometimes they just don't know where to start, how to handle, due to lacking of knowledge or lacking of regulatory compliance. And on the other hand, we as Deloitte fully understand these hurdles and all these different kinds of procedures where you can step towards to when you're facing or considering interacting with a DAO. Because you have to think about your regulatory compliance, your risk management, but it's also a cultural shift. And that is again about the knowledge gap and also the transformation in the different way of thinking with a different kind of governance structure. And I really think we can help bridge that gap. So I think already 1 year ago, we thought about, okay, let's conduct a risk inventory case study to help organizations bridging this gap in a responsible and compliant manner. Because as we, as Deloitte, can do this, then other companies should interact or could interact with a DAO as well. But before we could propose this to the Polkadot Treasury, we had to handle Polkadot as if we were going to onboard Polkadot as a client. So we had to go through all our normal onboarding procedures, like know your customer, do we know who's on the other side of the table? So we started there, and we categorized certain risks. So the approach to start here was like, okay, accepting Polkadot as a normal client into our systems, which processes do we need to follow? and where do we have to deal with. And then, of course, taking into consideration that this is a DAO, so the decentralized structure, also the token-based governance we took into account, and also that code is law and the baseline within a DAO. But you can think, of different kind of risks we need to assess. So you can think of financial risk, regulatory risks. So we started with a few where we thought, okay, this is where we should start with to make some next steps. And the company was also really willing to help us thinking along on how can we onboard a company, or I cannot say company, but a DAO like Polkadot. And we had specifically chosen as well for Polkadot because it's fully decentralized. So like stated, we already work together with the Energy Web Foundation and also with Hedera, but those are legal entities and not fully decentralized. And I think the Polkadot network is also already very mature and has a treasury. And if you file in a proposal to the treasury, as you know, people can vote on your ID. So that was also the thinking, that if we filed the proposal and everybody in the ecosystem really liked the idea of creating a blueprint to help organizations interact, then we also knew we were doing something good with this assessment for the whole ecosystem. So where did we look at the beginning? We looked at the reputation, independence, and the source of funds. So let me start with independence, because that might not be a familiar term for you. But we, as Deloitte, are in the basis an audit firm. And we cannot provide consultancy and advisory services to clients that we also do audit work for. So we have to keep that separated and being fully independent on that topic. So yeah, we cannot have interference there if we interact with the Polkadot ecosystem. Then the source of funds. So if we would file in this proposal to the treasury, we would have received DOT. So is our company aware of what it means to get a cryptocurrency transaction, and where does then the dots coming from? That's also, of course, different than with a normal fiat transaction. And lastly, we looked at the reputation. So who are the people behind this community? Who are the stakeholders? So it was really important to research in the first place those three different topics. So we did some sort of pre-assessment before filing in the proposal to the Treasury. And yeah, there were a few challenges we faced already along this journey within the organization. And those are the three main points that are a challenge at this moment to interact with Polkadot as being the Deloitte organization. So the first one is an UBO. So this is an ultimate beneficial owner. And under the Dutch law, this means that you can define someone who is controlling the organization. So this can be one person, can be multiple persons, it can be through shares or voting rights. So that's really necessary under our AML Act, so the Anti-Money Laundering Act, so the WWFT is it called in the Netherlands. Next to that, and it goes a bit hand in hand and in line, that's about the client relationship. So this can also, of course, be a natural person, or it can be a legal entity where we do business with and where you also can go to if something goes wrong, or where you sign an agreement with together. And it also has to do with the same act, so on the regulations. And the last one is about anti-money laundering, because you might not know where the DOT is coming from, right? So if it comes directly from the treasury and it's a newly minted DOT token, you know where it's coming from. But it could also be that it already has some certain history. And then the question also is, where does it come from? Is it from a sanctioned country maybe, or maybe from a person where we cannot do transactions with? So I would say the last one we can tackle, to say so, because you might also be aware of a lot of tooling, and of crypto is traceable, so you should go somewhere with the DOT. But the first two points here are at this moment a challenge. So what we did was also contacting other companies on, yeah, maybe we can do it via your company and filing the proposal through another way. I also had discussions with Parity and other members in the ecosystem. But the main fact is that Polkadot wants to be a DAO and stays and remains a DAO, and also does not really want to be wrapped around with a legal entity or something else. And our main goal as well was to really interact directly with the DAO and also not via another organization or legal entity. So internally, that was a bit where the journey stopped because of those reasons, and mainly the first two reasons. So when I saw that you could provide here a talk about this topic, I really wanted to do that, because I'm really curious in the meantime, whilst there's no regulations in the European Union around DAOs, what we could do together. So I think in the Polkadot ecosystem, there might be thoughts around this and how we can bridge this gap. But also at the Deloitte side, maybe other corporates that also want to interact with the DAO. Because I really think, yeah, it's a shame that the adoption of the technology itself is not going much further due to this uncertainty and this lack of knowledge. I really think that there are many possibilities to collaborate and to have more traction and applications on the Polkadot network and also on other blockchain networks. So I'm really curious on your thought here, and yeah, our mission is still clear. We really want to boost the enterprise adoption of Web3, and I really hope that you might have thinking and ideas to help me with this topic. So please feel free to ask any questions or come after this talk to me to discuss this together, because I would really be eager to. And otherwise, there are also other topics that we're working on in the crypto native space that might also be valuable to work towards on. So are there any questions maybe?
Any questions in the audience? How to bridge that gap between
IDs,
the DAOs and an enterprise? Yes, we have a question over here. Brilliant.
You may have heard from the keynote speak from Bjorn earlier that they're creating a foundation in the Cayman Islands. So there's a counterparty for there's basically an entity that can act as a counterparty for certain deals. Would working with that entity in the Cayman Islands alleviate some of the risks that you identified?
Yes, I think so. It does not really help that it's Cayman Islands, I would say. Sorry. But yes, it does. Because then at least you have another point of contact in your daily business where you can go through if something goes wrong. So that's more the idea, of course, that you can pinpoint to an entity or a person if there's anything. And now we don't know, right? Because it's a big community.
And any more questions from the audience? Cool. Thank you very much for your time today, Kim. It is a huge conundrum how to figure that gap out, and I totally appreciate it. Because we say DAO so conversationally, oh, DAO, DAO, DAO. But how do we make the DAO, DAO, DAO work? So no, really fascinating. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.